Okay, hello all, and welcome to this special presentation of Black Box Online Radio. Once again, welcome to the great state of West Virginia. I thought I would talk to you guys about some of the Zodiac killer books out there, and I confess that I have not read everything, but I just wanted to show you some of them and talk about some of the previous episodes that have been done here on Black Box Online Radio, as well as some of the other topics that have been covered on this channel. The first one is, I say, why not start with Zodiac Killer Just the Facts, which has been written and assembled by Tom Voigt. I'm going to turn that sideways so you can see the Z. This one is the largest book that I have on the shelf, and Zodiac Killer Just the Facts is the typed up versions of the police reports in chronological order, and it has been amazingly valuable. So it'll be a little bit easier to show off some of the other ones. I mean, it's been a good resource, and just to get a little bit more clarity into the situation about the case, because so many Zodiac writers give their interpretations of the police reports, and they've had access to them because so much of the case file has been made available to the general public. But they just to have them as a cross-reference has been very nice, though. And over here we have Sighting In on the Zodiac Killer by Drew Hurst Beeson, and Drew also has episodes and videos out on his channel, Drew Beeson. He hosts the show The Zodcast. And Drew has also talked a lot about the D.B. Cooper case, as well as the disappearance of the Yuba County Five. I have his book, Out of Bounds, What Happened to the Yuba County Five, but only in the electronic version. And then moving on to one that is not Zodiac related immediately, we have the Curious Case of Margaret Todd, but there is something on page 44 of this book about the Zodiac Killer and talking more about the global elites theory. And you might be wondering, how on earth could that happen? If you look at this guy here, though, that's Napoleon III, and this book here, The Curious Case of Margaret Todd, talks about how this lady may have had an affair with Napoleon III and been the mother of his child, who was named Rosalie Toussaint. Margaret Todd was murdered on September 27th. I got it right, and I got like the sandwiches right, but what's the middle of the sandwich? It was October 27th of 1905, going from New York to Philadelphia, and she was beaten and thrown onto train tracks. Now, about the Zodiac Killer, it talks about how, is it possible at all that there is the New World Order connection, the global elites connection? I've talked a lot on this channel about the Zodiac Killer CIA connection, the Manson family connection, or some type of orchestration behind the scenes by an elite authority. And yes, a lot of people think that Manson was created by the CIA. The Zodiac Killer could have been created by the CIA. But how would the New World Order tie into that exactly? Well, it would be about manipulating the thought process of humanity, controlling the way people think. And there's a very brief discussion in this book here, but if you'd like to hear my full episode on the murder of Margaret Todd, it's called Who Killed Margaret Todd, available on this channel. And moving on to a different Zodiac Killer book, we have The Zodiac Killer Cover-Up by Lyndon E. Lafferty. The true mystery of this book is, what does the E stand for in Lyndon E. Lafferty? No, but I was not a fan. As you see there, it's also called the Silenced Badge. But my biggest problem with this one is that Lyndon Lafferty is some guy who is presenting himself as an expert and an on-the-grounds researcher who has covered the Zodiac Killer mystery for 35 years at the time of this publishing. And it's just filled with errors. It's filled with errors to the point where I can only imagine that he had some type of ghostwriter putting the book together and just made numerous factual errors and didn't put it together. I talked about how he said that the disappearance of Donna Lass happened on September 26th instead of September 6th. The murder of Nancy Benelak happened on October 26th instead of October 25th. I have a two-part book discussion on this one here, The Zodiac Killer Cover-Up, also known as The Silenced Badge by Lyndon Lafferty. And I absolutely cannot recommend it because it's just so absolutely filled with mistakes. Some things that Lafferty should have been aware of, so you really have to get quite curious. But this little one here, actually, is one that was provided to me by a listener to the show named Playtime, and this is the CIA's Greatest Hits by Mark Zeppazauer. And I have an episode about this one, going through some of the material in this book. It is definitely a very easy read, but I responded to this one as well for the Anything Goes Friday segment. And that is something that's going to be definitely changing about Black Box Online Radio, because I am going to try to put episodes out on Fridays, but they might be coming out on Saturdays. And the next one that I will do is this one, The Devil's Gap, the untold story of Canada's first suicide bomber. And this was also provided to me by one of the listeners, and it's written by Joe Ralco. But the listener that provided this to me was Bruce, who uses the YouTube name BH. And I think I'm really just very appreciative of that. I'm reading this one currently, and it's definitely an interesting part of the true crime world that I had never explored before, and it's going to be taking place in Kenora, so remember that name. And if you are new to this channel, please tune in on Friday or Saturday this week to hear about The Devil's Gap. But a different Zodiac Killer book that I have here is The Myth of the Zodiac Killer by Thomas Henry Horan. And I did 2 book discussions on this one. This is multiple books put together, actually. The first part is called The Great Zodiac Killer Hoax of 1986. There's also The Great Zodiac Killer Hoax of 1969. But I wanted to talk to you about something that I have not truly covered on the channel, and that is the book 40 Days by Tommy Jonk. You might notice that there's a different name. Well, Tommy Jonk was the pen name of Thomas Henry Horan prior to using his given name on his publications. And somebody saw me reading this once. I was actually at work one day when I should have been doing work, but I was just sitting in my chair, and someone came by and just said, "What book are you reading?" And I said, 40 Days by Tommy Jonk. They said, "What kind of book is it?" And I said, "Prose poetry." And they were like, "What on earth is prose poetry?" And I was like, "Well, it's like poetry written in paragraphs. You know how well poetry can often be written in stanzas in the more conventional sense. This one has a poetic flow to it, but I couldn't resist touching its black, and on its back, in the hazy sun, the shine felt warm, if unusually hard. Oh my gosh, I picked the wrong paragraph. Okay, well, anyway, I do highly recommend this, though. And one time, I even recommended this book to my sister's book club, because she had just asked me, like, "Hey, we don't have anything for the book club. Do you have any idea what we should read?" And I said, 40 Days by Tommy Jonk. I thought they would have a good time with it. I kid thee not. And moving on to another Zodiac Killer book, we have America's Jack the Ripper, written by Soren Korsgaard. This is a pretty good one, because Soren really made an attempt to document all of his findings. This book is filled with citations and footnotes, and you can see where he's getting the information from. I mean, look at this stuff. He is telling you about his analysis, how he comes to these conclusions. It is very theoretical, though, and he puts a lot of opinion and ideas into this work. And I say that because he talks about how the Zodiac Killer may have been Canadian. He does lots of linguistic analysis, and a lot of it's his take on the subject. A very bold claim made by Soren Korsgaard is that perhaps the Zodiac Killer did not murder Sherry Jo Bates, but wrote the Bates Confession. And I'm not talking about the letters that say Bates had to die. There will be more. I mean, the Riverside Confession that says Miss Bates went to the slaughter like a lamb, and she was stupid and all that. That one is there's a lot of analysis in this book, America's Jack the Ripper. And Tom Voigt put out something on his YouTube channel where he was very critical of some books, like The Myth of the Zodiac Killer by Thomas Horan, and he called it the Books and Crooks list. And he included America's Jack the Ripper by Soren Korsgaard, and that's the one I would be most curious to hear about, because, if anything, it's an honest attempt. Like, I don't see, like, any type of wrongdoing on Soren's part. Okay, you might disagree with his theories and observations. I do, and you can hear all about that in my episode on Soren Korsgaard's book here, America's Jack the Ripper. But I'm really not sure. I would hardly call him a crook, though. And then we have Rescued and Restored. This is another one that comes from Soren's publishing company, Korsgaard Publishing. Can we see their logo? Yeah, that's this right back here. And that thing is from Korsgaard Publishing. They have a YouTube channel out as well. But this is the Memoirs of a Death Row Inmate. But you'll see here that Soren Korsgaard wrote the foreword to this, and I used that for an episode on the Anything Goes Friday segment, talking about the death penalty. And I would love to for you guys to check that one out. You can put your ideas in the comments section down below for anything you'd have to say about the death penalty on that episode. I'll include those links. And speaking of the Zodiac Killer and the Anything Goes segment on Fridays, there is this one here that was provided to me by Tyler Grover, and it's called The Mirage Man, and Bruce Ivins, the Anthrax Killer, and America's Rush to War. I found it to be, I'm just completely pulled into the world of the Anthrax Killer. I know that it's not the most thrilling part, but, a lot of people are simply not interested in the Anthrax Killer. They don't think twice about him. They don't care what he has going on, but I think that it's like part of American true crime history. Absolutely terrible things done by Bruce Ivins, whoever actually committed the attacks. Bruce Ivins is, of course, the prime suspect, but he committed suicide before he could be convicted. And anyway, I do recommend this book, and I have an episode about it as well for the Anything Goes segment. But there is something called the Zodiac Anthrax Connection that once again talks about Bruce Ivins as the Zodiac Killer, and I'll talk to you guys more about that in the future. And speaking of the Anything Goes segments on Fridays, we have here a philosophical critique of empirical arguments for post-mortem survival by Michael Sudduth, and that was one that I did recently, and it's simply called Do You Believe in Life After Death? Again, I'm going to include some links. Now, here's something that is absolutely unrelated to today's topic, but do you see this here? Ice Station by Matt Riley. Look at my old beaten-up copy. That's what ice looks like upside down. And it's set in Antarctica. However, if I were to go back and do a PhD in literature, I would write my dissertation on Ice Station by Matt Riley. You can get this at a lot of bookstores. I was even walking through an English language bookstore in China. It had an English language section. I saw Ice Station there. So it's definitely gone global. But I would write my dissertation on that one if I ever get around to it. And have you ever heard of this one? Killer on a White Horse, written by some guy named Ned DeHaan. Now, this is, of course, my book here, and I even have a couple episodes about this, which I did for the release party. But if you look at the back of the book, and I have to give a big thank you to Jerome and the French Wrecking Crew for posting the back of the book on Facebook. I think that's the only place where it's ever seen. But it says, "Where does the light end? Where does the darkness begin? There lies the mystery." And I think that is very valuable to get a hold of. Just gives you a little bit of insight into the undertone of the book. And there's also Ned DeHaan is the host of BlackBoxOnlineRadio, available on YouTube and LaunchPad 1 from the great state of West Virginia. Thank you to everyone. Yes, although I haven't been uploading too much on LaunchPad 1 these days. But yes, that is Killer on a White Horse. And as far as Zodiac books go, this was never intended to be a pure Zodiac book. What I did with this one was I wanted to talk about the Zodiac Manson connection, and I did several episodes about it on this channel, and I said that it was something that should be put into a novel, and it was my attempt to write the Zodiac Manson connection as a novel. But I'm fully aware that I didn't use it as like a historical ground. It's not set in California, it's set in the state of Maryland. And, sometimes the flow of the book just takes over, and it becomes something completely different. And I really didn't have the whole cult leader aspect of Charles Manson into the book. Instead, it's just more like rogue drifters and so on. But if you'd like to know more, Killer on a White Horse, A Story of the Evening Watchman, is available on Amazon.com, written by me, Ned DeHaan. And there are going to be a bunch of links there. I encourage you to check out my episode on the death penalty, my episode on the CIA, as well as the Mirage Man, and of course the one that is on Life After Death. So lots of things available on this channel. As always, you can like and subscribe, and feel free to also look at some of these Zodiac Killer episodes, and please look out for the one in the future on the Devil's Gap. Okay, that's all for me now. Until next time.